This is the bed yesterday I spoke about it needing to be topped up, and I'm topping it up with this gorgeous mix, if I don't say so myself. This is the planting mix. So the soil underneath is dehydrated, it's malnourished, it hasn't been fed for a long time. This bed in particular, that is, not all beds. So what I'm doing here is just adding some planting mix over the top. Yes, straight over the strawberries, they're tough as nails, and they'll just sort of grow through it all and then appear above it all in the next few weeks. So what I'm doing here is just sort of replenishing the nutrients back into the garden bed here. Not a very thick dress. It's not to get the height so much back up, but more so get the nutrients back in. And this is one bag, and this will be at least, that's 2.5 meters long by about 800 wide. So I like dressing like this with one bag, almost one bag. I think I might need 1.5 bags to get it happening. But just a light type dress. Really, about that much is all you need when it comes to feeding. I think I actually have got a bit too much in here. It doesn't matter. If you've got plenty of bags, spread it out. So just a light dress like this to feed it in, but we also need to put our mulch on top. The other part I get asked often is, do I need to pull out the mulch or scrape the mulch aside when I'm applying, the planting mix or compost? You don't. In fact, it's best to leave the mulch underneath, because that part there will actually decompose and keeps a bit of moisture in there, aeration, which is important to stop compaction. Not so much in, well, actually sandy loam soils, it's important too. You need that texture, you need that body of it. So the mulch with the compost or the planting mix is ideal, and leave it underneath. That's what I've done here. Gone straight over the top, see that? There's all this mulch under here. Just bury it. Just going to go and get another bag. That's about 1.5 bags I've put in this area here, folks. In about two square meters, let's say. So about 1 bag a square meter maximum when you're just doing a light top dress, and then as much as you need if you need to fill the garden bed up. Now, before I mulch this bed, actually, let me do the other side. I can't do a half job here, can I? If you've got seedlings in the garden growing, don't stress too much. Even if you cover them over, you can sort of carefully move the mix away, whether it's the planting or compost. Just carefully run your fingers through the soil like this, and just look for those little baby darlings that may otherwise be buried. But you'll find most of these seedlings will actually push their way through, especially when it's a good mix like this. So, and a little bit of mulch exposed, doesn't matter. Look at that. It smells good, it looks good, it is good. I've got my mulch that's been inoculated with the liquid feed. You see me do this a million times. But what I'm going to do after this is actually plant my broad beans. I haven't planted broad beans, believe it or not. I know a lot of you have already got them. They're growing everywhere. Well, I've let it go a little bit late. I'm not too fussed, because I'll just grow right through spring, and I've got plenty of garden beds and they won't interfere with anything else that I want to plant later on. So if you've got the space for it, that's fine. You don't have to plant 100 broad beans in the one group. You can do 4 or 5 together if you like, depending on how big the garden bed is, but always have a variety going on. Now, you're looking at this bed and you're scratching your head and saying, he's got strawberries, he's got some remnants of spring onions, he's got an okra here that's gone to heaven, and I'm just leaving it there as a feature just to give you people something to be annoyed about. I've even got a lemon verbena growing in here. Now that's got to come out. That's actually taken to that corner there. So we've got lettuce appearing there. We've got some clusters of little, look at this. I didn't finish planting my seedlings, so I buried them all together here, and they're really happy. They've taken off. Now that's beetroot, and we've got an assortment of lettuce. They need to come out, not today, but they need to come out and be separated. And why I'm mentioning all these different varieties is it's all about, companion planting. You can have your flowering plants and your edible plants all in the one batch or in the one garden bed growing together. You don't have to have just broad beans. So I'm going to plant my broad beans in here with the strawberries, with the lettuce, some of the onions, and obviously spread some of the beetroot out as well, and the strawberries that we've got going in here as well. So multi-species planting should help the soil come to life. And I'll show you what I mean. So we've got a capsicum, a lettuce, we've got some kale growing, we've got some spring onions, beans in the background, the tomatoes are finished. And let me just move. I haven't touched the mulch. I don't even know what's going on under here. We've got a weed in there. Just take the weed out. So we'll look over here. Let's have a look over here, see what's going on underneath this mulch. Just carefully. Oh, look at that. Look how dark that is. Let's grab a handful. I haven't watered for about 3 or 4 days. That's gorgeous. No worms in this one. Not as, I suppose, as rich in texture as some of the other garden beds that I've had. But this is one of the beds, and I'll remind you all, if you haven't been following for a long time, and for those who have and may have forgotten, this is one of the beds that we filled in with, is it with the topsoil that was rubbish? I think it was. I think it was these, it was these 3 beds, that's right, and the middle bed over there that I was just starting to fill up. So we had some contaminated soil in here. They're doing well, considering, I mean, I haven't done a lot in this garden bed, it's all gone to heaven because they've sort of finished. But starting off your garden beds, lots of fresh organic matter or a light top dress, and multi-species planting. One thing about gardening, folks, one method doesn't necessarily mean it's the only method in achieving the results you want. This is a method that's worked for me in this sort of climate that I live in, with the extra mulch that I've put in, and obviously our organic stuff. You know, others will have a different approach to gardening, and I'm not talking about turning the soil over, it's how you layer it, what you're adding to it, whether you like this mulch or the other mulch. I told you my preference is a coarser mulch like this. So sometimes doing it this way may not work for you, which I find hard to believe, because this is a hard climate where I am in here, a harsh climate. It's really dry in summer and really cold in winter, and we do get a lot of high winds. So these beds really do cop a beating. Even those new beds that I built out there, which we'll see at another time, they're past the conifer hedge here, which you don't realise how important it is to have a hedge in a high wind prone area. The beds that are out there that are exposed to the northwesterly side, they actually cop a lot of wind because there are no conifers over there. So, you know, protection is important, but so is direct sunlight. And if you don't get enough of that, your plants will struggle. And what did I forget to do, folks? That's right, forgot to water the bed before I put the mulch on top. That's what happens when you talk too much. And don't say it. Rubbish. Okay, so what I've got here are my broad beans, Aqua Dolce. So they're a sweet, juicy bean. That's how I interpret it. Aqua, which means water, dolce, happy, isn't it? So they're happy beans. So we're going to plant a couple in each hole, about 30-40 centimetres apart. You can pull out a ruler if you want, or just poke a little hole in the ground, drop them together, cover it over, and the rest is going to happen with nature. There's no specific way in planting these, folks. I'm actually planting them really close here. I'm hoping some will grow through the mesh on the other side here, then I can just tie them up to it so they don't fall over, because when they get top heavy with all the growth on them, yeah, they tend to fall over and they get messy. So 2 in every hole, not too deep. I know you can read all about the how deep you should plant the seed depending on the size. Just get it under the surface. Sometimes you can even throw it on the top of the mulch or the soil and throw mulch over it. It still will germinate. This is broad beans, right? I've had beans in here too, which are unedible ones. This is purely for mulch, which have germinated, and they've grown basically sitting on the mulch. Just a little bit of moisture in there, and that was good enough for the seed itself to germinate. So when it comes to sowing seeds, the deeper you go, the bigger the chance of losing those seeds, because they'll rot out before they actually germinate. So the mulch itself is not going to hinder their growth. It's the depth that you plant them in the soil. So yes, keep the mulch over the top. So they're planted. There we are. 16 little beans, 16 plants planted together. And now a water, which is what I forgot to do before, but we'll get it in. So if you haven't got your broad beans in, what are you waiting for? Get them in, folks. Get your broad beans in, all your winter greens, top dress your garden bed, nothing too much, and always mulch on top. Vasili'sGarden.com, we are getting closer. I'm going to say it every day, getting closer to launching. Let's not put the curse on it. No more glitches. I think we've ironed out all the little bugs and done the testing. So the team have been testing the website. Just going through a few more tests before we go live. So get your redeem your reward points before we go live, and take advantage of the special, because that's going to run out at the end of the month as well. That's the autumn coupon code word to get an extra 15% off. Vasili'sGarden.com for everything you need. Marisi.